Jai Jagannath. Welcome viewers to this channel. We will discuss the newspaper of the Hindu of 11th of May 2023. Let's start. Biden to host state dinner for Modi on June 2022. June 22. That means the White House has announced that the state visit by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Washington DC next month. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden will host Prime Minister Narendra Modi of the Republic of India for an official state visit to the United States, which will be which will include a state dinner on June 22, 2023. An announcement adding that the visit will affirm the deep and close partnership between the two countries and that people ties. New Delhi confirmed the visit, saying it would underscore the growing importance of the bilateral relationship. This would be the first state visit of an Indian leader after then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's trip in 2009. So, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit the state of USA, that is Washington DC, on June 22, 2023. So there is a possibility of bilateral talk between the USA and India. And then next topic is the fallout of Putin helping make NATO great again. So what happens because of the Russian-Ukraine war, the NATO became more strengthened. The North and what is NATO? NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Here what happens? The Finland and Sweden joined on NATO. So Finland joined as 31st member in April 2022. So it will be asked in exam that what is the recent country which joined NATO? Answer is Finland. Sweden will also join NATO because of some ratification process. Sweden will join very soon. However, during the joining of Finland and upcoming Sweden, the NATO's territorial expanse have eroded, and it means that the Baltic Sea make the Baltic Sea a NATO lake. That means all the Baltic countries and the are the member of NATO. Nordic countries like Finland and Sweden they have refused. They maintain the neutrality that they should not be member of a NATO. But however, somehow they accepted the NATO's membership. So Russian actions, how the Russians uh, war against Ukraine have strengthened the NATO. First, engaging Russia has never been so easy for the European Union, mostly because of the differences among member states. That means some European countries like Germany and France has a soft corner for Russia, unlike some Baltic countries like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, which have been in favor of a treading a cautious path. That means some countries support. As we know, European Union is a country are a union of 27 countries. So out of these countries, Germany and France support directly or indirectly Russia. But some Baltic countries like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they did not support. They did not support Russia. So Russia's invasion of Ukraine has not only brought back war to the European realm in the post Second World War era, but it is also a blow to the European Union's image as an actor, having failed to avert the war in its neighborhood. So basically, what happens? The European Union could not make peace in the Russian and Ukraine, so it is a dead failure for European Union. Second, Mr. Putin might not have been expected that Finland and Sweden would give up their neutrality so soon. First, second, what happens? That the Mr. Vladimir Putin did not imagine that How the Sweden and Finland can join NATO? It is beyond his imagination because Finland and Sweden both followed neutrality, that they did not accept the membership of NATO. Eventually, Finland had joined on April 2023, and Sweden also became a member of NATO very soon. So Russia also built its military presence in the adjoining northern area and the Kaliningrad exclave, bordering Finland. These northern areas, starting from St. Petersburg to Murmansk, come under the Russian core region. So Russia what will do? It will do military presence in Kaliningrad exclave. It means it is a place bordering Finland. It is important because due to its strategic and economic positions. Then third, spotlight on the Arctic. That means um, NATO may face a standoff with Russia in the Arctic region due to climate change and prospect of harnessing off-tapped oil, gas, and mineral resources. It is receiving wide attention, creating unexpected and complex challenges. So, due to climate change in Arctic region, what happens due to climate change and due to untapped oil, gas, mineral resources, it is receiving wide attention. What? Arctic. Now, what happens? The USA, Canada, Russia, and Nordic countries such as Norway, Denmark, Ireland, then Sweden, Finland, and member of Arctic Council and have a direct stake in Arctic affairs. Obviously, is there comes under the Arctic Council, so they have the power to control the Arctic affairs. And there is some the Arctic countries and Russia. There is a conflict. There is a confrontation. NATO membership for the Nordic countries has brought a new geostrategic dimension to the Arctic future. So how the Nordic countries like Sweden, Finland has joined NATO. So the NATO's membership for the Nordic country has brought a new geostrategic dimension. What will happen? Russia will attack these countries or not, or it will impact some influence on Russia or not. It will be seen in future. For Russia, cohabitation rather than confrontation with NATO was an option. Now, Russia, what will do? Russia will have to compromise. But Mr. Putin wanted to stop NATO from expanding its base. On the contrary, it has triggered a NATO expansion instead to a larger base in the Nordic. So what happens? Russia wants to stop NATO, the extension of NATO. But NATO is extending by adding more and more countries to its members. There is more justification for NATO's existence now. Many countries now see their secure future in NATO's Article 5. Mr. Putin has in fact made NATO great again. Implications for India. What will what will happen in India as the Russia and NATO? In recent years, India has had limited engagement with NATO, mostly as political dialogues. India has maintained a strategic silence on NATO's recent expansion. India is silent, but it needs to closely watch for scenarios that would emerge. But it would have a it would have a watchdog for the scenarios that could emerge in future. First, Russia has few friends left in the current situation, but India is one of them, is unlikely to help Moscow in maintaining the balance of power in the counter NATO. So now India is helping Russia. China has maintained a strong stance against NATO's existence. China, like Russia, China is also against the um, expansion of NATO. So Russia may count on China for support, bringing the two countries closer. So what happens is China is also against NATO so expansion, and Russia is also NATO's expansion. So maybe the two countries like Russia and China may brought close to each other. And if China will join, if China and the relation between China and Russia become more stronger, then it maybe impact India's strategic positions. Second, in recent years, the Nordic region has caught the frequency of India's strategic radar. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Copenhagen to participate in the second India Nordic Summit in May 2022 and underlined India's deep interest in cooperation. So, India is basically believes in cooperations. This region now coming under a NATO umbrella will complicate India's strategic choices. So, as the because this region, that means the Nordic region is under NATO's umbrella, NATO's membership. So maybe it will complicate the India's relation between the Nordic countries. It is also an strategic point of view. Then what happens in third point? India has an observer status in the Arctic Council, and in the Arctic Council, India is given observer status. So Finland's NATO membership with Sweden joining soon, along with China's claim as a near Arctic state and its partnership with Russia in this region may lead to Arctic's militarization, thereby affecting the interest of all actors including India. It may affect all countries. India's global actor role will be tested in view of the new European security architecture led by NATO and contested by Russia. It is an important point of view. It will be helpful for prelims and mains or in a day one day single exams. Then a ground view of the Indian Space Policy 2023. On April 20 this year, the Indian Space Research Organization released the Indian Space Policy 2023 that had been in the work for some years. The document has been received positively by industry. However, it needs to be followed up with suitable legislation, accompanied by clear rules and regulations. Just preceding this writer wrote this article. Awaiting liftoff into the second space age, April 10, 2023, which said that India's modest entry into the first space age, followed by its many gains, should be used to help the country tap the vast potential in the second space age. That means India's first space entry will definitely help India's second space age. Under the fast spaces happened during early 1990s. So fast India's space industry and space economy were defined by ISRO. Private sector involvement was limited to building to ISRO design and specification. The second phase is a second space age began with the licensing of private TV channels and explosive growth of internet and mobile telecom and the emergence of the smartphone. Today, while ISRO's budget is approximately $1.6 billion, India's space economy is over $9.6 billion. Broadband OTT 5G promise a double-digit annual growth in satellite-based service. It is estimated that with an enabling environment, the Indian space industry could grow to 60 billion by 2030, directly creating more than 2 lakh jobs. Yet it is the enabling policy environment that has proved elusive. The first satellite communication policy was introduced in 1997 with guidelines for foreign direct investment in the satellite industry that were further liberalized but never generated much enthusiasm because first satellite communication policy was first introduced in 1997. Today, more than half of the transponders beaming TV signals into Indian homes are hosted on foreign satellite, resulting in annual overflow of over $500 million. A remote sensing data policy was introduced in 2001, which was amended in 2011, 2016. It was replaced by a national geospatial policy that has been further liberalized in 2022. Yet Indian users, including the security and defense agencies, spend nearly $1 billion annually to procure Earth observation data and imagery from foreign sources. To streamline matters, a draft space activities bill was brought out in 2017, which went through a long consultative process. It lapsed in 2019 with the outgoing Lok Sabha. The government was expected to introduce a new bill in 2021, but it did not happen. So, what are the main point of view we will discuss? First, this is the only reference to security in the development document, making it clear that focus is on civilian and peaceful applications. The space-based intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, communication, positioning, and navigation capability are increasingly seen as mission critical by defense services. ASAT, anti-satellite research, what was successful in March 2019, and Defense Space Agency was also set up in 2019. Defense Space Research Organization. It is responsible for a defense-oriented space security policy document will be a separate document. The policy lay out a strategy and then spells out the roles of Department of Space, ISRO, the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center set up in 2020. New Space in India Limited, a public sector unit set up in 2019 under the Department of ISRO. ISRO will transition out of the existing practice of being present in the manufacturing of operational space system. ISRO will now use the biggest asset, its qualified and talented manpower, to concentrate on cutting-edge research and development and long-term projects such as Chandrayaan and Gaganyaan. And ISRO's commercial arm, NSIL, will become the interface for interacting with industry. The NGE, private sector, are allowed to undertake end-to-end activity in the space sector through establishment and operation of space objects. So the activity of NGEs will be in keeping with guidelines and regulations to be issued by InSpace. It is expected to act as a single window agency for authorizing space activity. What is the agency? InSpace. Then the next topic is Pokhran 2, a moment of profound epiphany. In May 11 and 13, 1998, India carved out a new future for itself, becoming a nuclear country, having a country having nuclear power. During Bangladesh Liberation One in 1971, India's self-esteem and its place in the world was greater. In the previous 2 decades, the military aspect of India's nuclear policy and program were shrouded in a veil of ambiguity and opaqueness. There had been little reliable information available since May 18, 1974. The day India conducted its first nuclear test and termed it as a peaceful nuclear explosion. It is May 18, 1974. On May 11, 1998, the veil was finally lifted. So, after conducting the three underground tests at Pokhran, followed by two more on May 13, there are two tests, and May 11, there are three tests. The government of India was unusually candid in its statement. Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee was explicit. Our intentions are, and will always be peaceful, but we do not want to cover our action with a veil of needless ambiguity. India is now a nuclear weapon state. So what happened during the 1998 test that catapulted India into a worst confrontation because the US on May 13th Washington imposed sanctions against New Delhi under Glenn Amendment. It is important to remember Glenn Amendment because USA sanctioned India. Pakistan conducted a series of nuclear tests on May 28 and 30. China castigated India for what it saw as the outrageous contempt of the common will be the international community. But in 2023, it is evident that nuclear tests reflected a moment of profound epiphany and awakening of India's self-confidence and awareness of its potential. India's status, security, and ability to influence the international system received arguably the greatest relief then since independence and unarguably the strongest boost since the end of Cold War. So, while discussing the nuclearization of India, we will discuss 3 points. First, the decision to conduct the test was taken by a BJP government out of tune with public opinion. While the Vajpayee government may have taken the decision to test virtually every prime minister since independence is implicated in the development of India's nuclear weapon program. Commitment to disarmament is considered unaccessible was conscious to potential security benefit of India's nuclear program. Lal Bahadur Shastri's premiership after the nuclear test by China at the Lok Nor test site in 1964, Homi Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program, is believed to have received the green signal to pursue India's national weapon option. Now what happens? A small group was set up under this. Indira Gandhi sanctioned the first nuclear test in May 1974. Although it was termed as a peaceful nuclear explosion, the architect of the test was Raja Ramanna. Revealed that it was a weapon that was tested. Less well known in 1988-99. Rajiv Gandhi gave the go-ahead to the Atomic Energy Commission and the Defense Research and Development Organization, being begin creating to Indian nuclear deterrent. By 1990, India had a fully developed nuclear weapon program. India would be isolated and economy would collapse under the weight of sanctions and it and international opprobrium. However, beginning with the dialogue between Jaswant Singh and Strobe Talbot, it became clear that democratic India, which is blemish-free, non-proliferation record, was too big and important to be marginalized. India-US civil nuclear agreement in 2005. Third was the ethnocentric myth perpetuated by the non-proliferation absolutists of the West that India and South Asia could not be trusted to manage nuclear weapons. Soviet Union and the US could not be applied to the subcontinent. However, in reality, whether it be in terms of a well thought out nuclear doctrine, C4I command, control, communication, computer and intelligence. C4I command, control, communication, computer and intelligence structures required to manage nuclear weapons. India has far more sophisticated measures in place that US and Soviet Union had 25 years after acquiring nuclear weapons. Deterrence is worked well in South Asia, not just at the strategic or conventional level, but increased at the sub-conventional level as well. Now, we already discussed in past India-US to strengthen G20 cooperation during Modi visit. PM to unveil plan for museum in Central Secretariat next week. First study on Indian sloths finds high potential for use as fertilizer. So what happens? It can be used um, treatment plan. It has high potential for use as fertilizer, but required treatment before it could be used. But Most it had high potential for user fertilizer, but required treatment before it could be used unrestricted on farm as a potential byproduct. So treatment facility, that means prevent pollution of river. One of the major program was Earth Ganga, economic value from Ganga. It's a monetized and reused treated wastewater and sludge. This means the converting sludge, a thick residue filtered out of STP that while rich in organic chemical is also a repository of heavy metals, industrial effluents and bacterial contaminants into useful products such as manure and bricks. The contaminants in sludge means that they need to be treated and dried before they can be safely disposed. That means from the sludge it will be dried up and it will become the mud, and from that mud brick would be prepared. Treated sludge can be classified as Class A and Class B as per United States Environment Protection Agency. Class A being safe to dispose of in the open and useful as a organic fertilizer. Class B means that the sludge can be used in restricted agricultural applications, the edible part of the crop not to be exposed to the sludge mixed soil, and animals and people not to come into extensive contact. But however, India do not have the difference between have the standards classifying sludge A as Class A or Class B. So, Namami Ganga mission are also appropriation land for disposing of sludge. It was necessary to understand the characteristics of the sludge from these STPs before ways could be devised to incentivize private players to treat and dispose sludge. This is the first time such a project has been convinced in India. Thank you.